Okay, oh, I was on mute. It's interesting how little there is for these things to affect each other. We've got a FIFO, we've got a config file, an atomic bool. What else could it be? We're setting an environment variable. Oh, I wonder if this is it. Ooh. Could these be affecting each other? What if I turn that off? There's nothing in this second test. So one of the tests has a has the real version of this. I made a copy so I could start to remove sections. Hey, toggle bit. Goodness, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Is this JavaScript? If JavaScript was an impressive language, it would be. I'm kidding. I love JavaScript. I've done JavaScript for like 20 years. All right. Better run. Well, have a great evening, Togglebit. Nightshade, dude. How you doing? Okay, let me set the stage here. Wait, make fun of JS. Already liking this. Yes. I mean, it pays the bills sometimes, so I'm not going to dig into it too much because, I mean, it pays for food for the kids and all that, but, you know, but it's not the language I love. Okay. But yeah, hey, it's fun to take what is it? Pot shots at JavaScript. Hey, it's MongoDB replication using PHP. Oh, dear. Well, welcome, Raiders. Welcome. And, okay. So I've got a problem, right? Other than the just JavaScript paying for food and whatnot. Um, oh, you had to shovel a decent amount of snow, not a super heavy. Ah, yes, yeah. JavaScript is a good tool for when you need it, right? But it's fun to make fun of. Um, and I'm sure Rust has a lot of things we could make fun of as well. But it's my current love language. So the situation is, I have two tests. Okay. When both tests run at the same time, one of them will fail. If I run them alone, no issue. Okay. And we're trying to hone in on what is causing the problem. Classic data, yes, it shared state, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what's causing the issue. And Nico Man, thank you for the follow. So let's continue setting the stage. Right, this is classic tragedy. It's not a comedy, or actually, it could be a comedy. Comedy of errors. I don't know. All right. So I have a database replication system that I'm building out in order to build a website for my wife. Okay. The database replication system depends on this plugin called a VFS for SQLite. As you can see, we have little databases that are getting created and whatnot, but the replication only works if the database is in journal mode called wall or write ahead logging. So we have write ahead logging, and we want to ensure that when we go to read a database, we prohibit any other journal mode from actually working. It just helps to find the error much earlier on. This bit me. I wasted a bunch of time on it, and now I'm spending days actually writing tests to keep me from wasting another hour on it in the future. Okay, so creating walls, we only want to create databases that are using wall logging. and read databases that are using wall logging. Great. Now, let's run. Oh, well, here we have it on the screen. When we go to run the tests, just those two tests, we get an error. Could not read config file, reverb.toml. Okay. Now, we create this config file for each of the tests. And I think I might be honing in on the problem here. I'm hoping that this is the problem, that we're actually setting an environment variable in the test framework, and we're clobbering this shared state being the environment variable. I hope that's it. Anyhow, let's continue. Okay. So I suspect, oh, and more context, the test context, the little pieces of state that I use for managing my tests, I just call them test context. I cloned one so I could, you know, pare it down and see what's actually causing the issue. The original version has basically the same code in it. I just commented out this reverb config line and then toggle bit rated. Okay. So I suspect that this might be it, right? We're setting some global state, and I hadn't considered this before, but yeah, it's global, and maybe due to a data race here, one test is changing the second test's config file, and that's a problem. So let's, with that commented out and the files saved, that would have been interesting. Let's run it again. Okay, a little compile, a little run, success, 2 tests passed. The red is actually expected. This is success for this test. Okay. That's 1 success, 2 successes, 3 successes. Uh-oh. 4. I've never gone to 10. 6, 7. Oh, goodness. Okay, so it must have been the environment variable. Okay. It's that these 2 tests are running concurrently, but they both set the same environment variable. So the question is, how do we set an environment variable? Fellow Starship user, yes, I am. How do we set an environment variable for a test like this? Now, why do we need to set the environment variable? Because our VFS plugin needs a config. It needs to be configured. We can't just toss it into SQLite and hope for the best. So, what do we do? We need to communicate to the VFS what the configuration values are. I could care less if it's a TOML file, if it's an environment variable, if it's whatever, but we need to get that data to the VFS plugin. And at the moment I was using, as you can see, an environment variable to tell it where a TOML file was. Now, maybe there's a better way to pass this information. But it's not information that we can pass through the SQLite interface. You solved a great environment bug today. The MFA function needed a skew passing in. Sometimes it would be 0 and cause a divide by 0 error. Yes. Yep. And that's Guy Doru. Thank you for the follow. And Turbo Poretta. Thank you for the follow. Okay. Well, you know what? We have figured out the problem with the unit tests. And that happens to be something that I'm really happy about. But how do we fix it? Okay. Oh, let me load up MonoDraw so you can kind of see what we're doing here. And let's turn the lights down a little. Let me adjust my screen to night mode. Sorry about the blinding. Oh, look, so much better. Oh, thank you, that guy, Doru. I appreciate it. So, we're working on the VFS, which sits inside of SQLite, right? So, an application would use the VFS, and the VFS would then interact with the rest of our system, right? So, how do we configure the VFS if there is no interface in SQLite to pass configuration information to it? Oh, maybe there is. Oh, I don't like this. We could register a function and then call it via SQL to let it know where the config is. Oh, that's so gross. But it might just work for test. Okay. How would we? So that's a consideration. Um, so if we look at this programming loadable extensions, we do a lot of Rust with FFI on the stream at the moment. Um, but basically, it lets you call like create function and create collation, create a module, a register. Actually, I'm not even sure what module is, but we end up using VFS register because we are creating a VFS. We're not creating some additional functionality for a SQLite user to use. We just want to provide the database. Hey, Fair, how are you? Okay. So we could create a function that would work. Is there another way we could actually get the data in? Environment variable. What else could a DLL, a shared library that's getting initialized, what could it do? It could look for a default. That might work. We could ensure that the application is starting up in a specific directory. Oh, but that we might have the same problem with that if we change the current working directory of the tester. We could spawn a process and then do it. Okay, those suck. Um, but you know what? 1,000 bad ideas will bring forth. We will dig through the pile, find a good idea here. Are are these tests run in different threads? We might be able to pass some sort of thread variable. Thread. See, I'm not even sure that we would get initialized on the same thread. Because SQLite might create a thread for. No, SQLite doesn't really create threads. Applications using SQLite create threads. So maybe we could pass it in a thread local storage if Rust tests are actually using different threads. Do Rust tests run on controlling how tests run? How tests are run threads? By default, all tests are run in parallel. Ah, okay. So they get run on different threads. Interesting. Practical tip. Let's say you have some kind of test fixture, no matter if it's some kind of test helper. Okay. Yep. Okay. So what about thread local? Let's see. I mean, threads are out. We should be in the same thread here. Let's search for that. Wait. This. Now, when we go to load the VFS, we check to see if we have this first. Let's check and see if we have something else set. Standard thread. Ooh. How do we use thread local? I don't think I've ever done that in Rust. Okay. Thread local storage. And now for our bedtime reading of Rust documentation on thread local storage. This module also provides an implementation of thread local storage for Rust programs. Thread local storage is a method of storing data into a global variable that each thread in the program will have its own copy of. That sounds perfect for us. Threads do not share this data, so accesses do not need to be synchronized. A thread local key owns the value it contains and will destroy the value when the thread exits. Interesting. Will we be able to pass that into the VFS? It is created with a thread local macro and can contain any value that is static. No borrowed pointers. Okay. We could leak a string or something, or arcbox string. It provides an accessor function with that yields a shared reference to the value. Okay. Through local keys, allow only shared accesses to values. Right. Naming threads. I don't care about naming threads. Let's check this out. See, my concerns here would be that the VFS, which is compiled externally from the test code, won't have access to thread local to the same pointer to the data. See, with borrow, there's a with call, thread local. These go into the thread local storage. But then how do we get access to that? Because we could set that in the tests, but how do we get a reference to it in the VFS? They're compiled separately. Single threaded examples. Yep, create it, get it, do stuff with it. What about the naming? How do they actually set this up? Maybe we could have the same kind of definition in both places. Okay. Yeah, most of these just, those are fine. That's just getters and setters. Let's just grab something like this. And we're just going to toss it in here. I just want to see whether or not it could be referenced in both places. Yeah, what does thread local do? Thread local impl inner. So we end up one macro calling another. What is Starship? Starship is the command line. Um, I don't know what to call that. It's this guy here. Okay, maybe we could create a key, local key. Initialization is dynamically performed on the first call to a setter within a thread and value. Okay. Local key. Oh, it's got a function. It takes an option to a mutable option of t and returns a constant. Okay. Interesting. And Philippe Souza, thank you for the follow. All right, so I don't know that we're going to be able to get access to this. Maybe we could also load the library and pass it in. Not via SQLite, but just do a DL open. Okay. I'm not, I don't want to pursue this idea. Okay. One more search real quick. Um, we're going to search for Rust shared library thread local variables. Whatever. And a crate called minimal thread local example. They have one, they have workspace, two items. They have a shared library, and then they have, oh, this is perfect. Has thread local. Lib loading, okay. Oh, I guess we could share code between the two. That might work. I think they're doing exactly what I was thinking. Let's go to the answers real quick. The reason this behavior is observed is because the shared library contains its own copy, yes, of the code of the grid. Mm-hmm. Two different, got it. Solution is to pass a reference to the thread local in question. All right. However, we are not the application that is accessing, that is loading the DLL. So this won't work for us. Okay. Nope, that's good. Solves that question for us. So we're not going to be able to share a thread local in our VFS with the test harness. Right. Which leaves us with not that. Where was it? Interface methods? No. Wherever it went. File name? No. Run. Oh, here, it's this one. So let's create a function. Now, if we do create a function, we would have to delay initialization. Wow, that would be quite the change. I don't know if I want that though. So what would happen? Let me think through that. Let's see. Implementation of JSON SQL functions. Great, that looks interesting. Application defined SQL functions, compress and uncompress. Sure, this looks like a simple example. Implementation of the compress function. If X is compressed using zlib. All right. So we have our function defined. Uncompress, great. Now, how do we initialize? In this case, our VFS initializes the exact same way. Okay. So we would have to delay initialization if we couldn't find the environment variable. And then wait for a function to be called. Hmm. I'm not sure I like that because if the environment variable is not ever defined, then we don't get an error right away. Right? The application doesn't just return an error immediately. And I really like that. Okay, this is still on the table, but what other way could we use to communicate with the VFS? Um, default location again. What would be thread safe? I want to check on something with Rust. Rust, thread specific. SPECIFI. Oh my goodness. Environment. Can we have thread specific environment variables? Let's just look at standard.rs. Processes environment. That's not good. Yes, and there are safety concerns with this also, which we're probably violating. Let's look at thread. Adding model. Spawning a thread. Naming thread stack size. We could use the thread name. Perhaps there's a way to use different environment variables. Either that or we spawn threads. There's spawn processes. So we could know the thread ID, not the thread name, but the thread ID. Guaranteed not to be reused. That might be enough. What does it return? Thread ID. As U64. Oh, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Let's close that. Oh, getting rid of that. But let's first check to see whether or not there's a config file specific to the thread. Okay, that's the thread ID as U64. All right. Unstable. Oh, bogus. Nightly only. Oh, no, 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 no. Let's see. It has debug. What does debug look like? Non-zero. Frankly, I don't care what it really looks like as long as I can turn it into a string in both places. It has hash. Gotta hash it. With the thread ID. Ah, this is used during tests. in order to separate configs from each other. Uh, okay. And let's do that after. So we only do that if we can't find the real one. Then if we can't find this one, we'll complain loudly. So we get our first config. Match config. We're just going to do some nesting here. So if we don't have it yet, then we will attempt to load this one. Okay, so in this case, we'll have the map error on the inner one, but we want to return that. And in this case, config just passes through. Let's move our comment up. What do we have here? Okay. So let's set this in our test and see if it'll help with things. Now, I'm going to be optimistic and comment out the test2 context. Okay. So we will just use the one. We're going full optimism on this. Config file. Here we go. Let's get this right. Maybe we use the same code to generate this. That's such a weird thing to have in an interface, though. It's going to be a shared library. I don't want. Let's just have this copied. Copy pasta. Standard thread. No, standard. All right. So then we'll have a different one. I like it. Oh, but our error was incorrect. Because this here. Oh, no. This is fine. I just wanted to make sure we didn't reference the one that nobody should know about. Okay. Our fallback. Let's give it a go. While that's going, I'm going to pour some tea. Oh, no. What happened? Missing environment variable. Really? For each of them. Okay, at least it's consistent. let's print these out. So we have that set, cargo build and test. Give us some info. Thread ID 2, thread ID 3. Reading that. Was there any other? No capture, but before we do that, we want to turn the logging off. Let's go off there. Okay. Huh. There are 3 thread IDs. So the VFS is reading on thread 1. And then these 2. Okay, where's the other one? Oh, ooh. Oh no. Are we only doing this once? Oh man, we are. Okay. We need a separate mode. Okay, so what's happening is show the code as we explain this. All right. This is our entry point. We will do this once. And because this is happening only once, we have an error. We need it to happen multiple times. Either that or we need to restructure our code, our tests. Okay. No, I should have seen this coming. I got distracted with the other error. So as we go through this, and we initialize reverb, we do that only once. But eventually we say, hey, load this permanently instead of a load OK. Right? And this function here is where we were loading the environment variables. Wow. All right. Control how tests run. Test threads, showing function output. Mm. Almost like we're doing integration tests as unit tests. We could move this into the integration tests. Would probably be better. Filter to running multiple tests. All right. Let's change things. See, I've got an hour. How are we going to do this? I don't want to change the way that this works anymore. Like the VFS. The VFS, I like how it's set up mostly. It could use some refactoring. This here, I think we should undo. Okay, that's back. Problem we're having is that all of our tests basically run in the same process. And our VFS, when it gets loaded, that's it. It's loaded once per process. As it's basically compiled in. Maybe we could unload it, but no, there's. How do we close the VFS? I thought I remembered something in the VFS about that. Hey, you know what? I also remember in this, I think it's this one, or the append VFS, they changed the way that they're loaded dependent on whether or not it's a test, right? In one case, they load permanently, and the other they don't. Uh, Actually, in both cases, they only load once. So they register. See, it's this load permanently that's the issue. They're not returning. Hmm. We're not auto extensioning, are we? No, we're not. Oh, wait. Whoa, 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 whoa. No. For their tests, they use auto extension. And then they memVFS register. They register the VFS. Then they do these two things if it's in test mode. Now remember we played around with that before. I don't remember the documentation on this. Let's use this one. Documentation. Reset automatic extension loading. This interface causes the X entry point function to be invoked for each new database connection that's created. Interesting. Even though the function prototype shows that the entry point takes no arguments, sqlite invokes it with 3 arguments. Okay. Okay. So you can call it more than once. That's great. Jam on toast. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. All right. So we've got a possibility here, but it would basically entail changing the VFS in order to support tests. Like Idoru. Oh, you're not a Starship fan, huh? Because I set it up once and haven't cared enough to change it. It hasn't gotten in my way. I like that it's, well, I just have room. And I don't actually use this information. I can do without that. Actually, I can do without most of this. Basically, what I want is this and this. But the rest, I think it's fine. I don't need to see which Rust version I'm on all the time. And Docker, goodness, am I even running Docker? No. You use it with fish? Nice. But yeah, it's mostly out of my way. So that's good. No. Okay. I don't want to change the VFS to support tests. I want to test what will be in production. Okay. Because of that, I think it's best to move these tests into our integration test suite. We'll move them into the gauntlet, which, okay, I'm going to admit this, that's where they started. And I thought, oh, you know, it'd be a great idea if they were unit tests. So let's move these into the gauntlet. And maybe we should update the gauntlet so that we can have multiple tests running at the same time. The gauntlet basically puppeteers a series of interactions. So, process gets spawned for every test, and um, an interprocess channel is set up between the test runner and the kind of test harness, and it basically just gets puppeteered. So if we're moving this in here, I want it to run faster. I don't want it serial. So I want these to be tests as well. Let's change that. Test. Outlet. Get rid of this. We have our utils here. Okay. Why can't these run at the same time currently? Why were we doing them one after the next? Create a test directory. Create the directory. I think we might be okay. I think we should probably change these. I would like to produce these at test time instead of copying them. Load to VFS, and this here is sending instructions to the process that is running the test. Okay. I think I think it's going to be okay. Let's try. Except I broke the configs. I know I broke the configs. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. Oh, data plane. That's the sticky wicket here. That's it. We need an alternative for data plane. We need something else that is, well, listening to the FIFO. So close to being able to do that. Okay. So first off, let's change the way that left and right are generated. The configs for each. And luckily, we have some code for that here. Where is it? Test context. We'll just do this. Right test config. Let's give it a path. Okay. FIFO path. Yeah, we've got some issues. That's okay. Arena directory, config files. So in each of these cases, we copy a file. We don't want to copy these any longer. Join DBs. Elkme, thank you for the follow. I think in this content here, if we sent the base path, we could come up with the rest of it. FIFO path is equal to base path clone.join. And what is our FIFO file called? Where are you? Huh. FIFO path. Oh, is it just in the configs? Left.toml. All right. That makes it easier. We'll just set this to a couple things here. Okay. Test directory. Let's say that's the base path. To owned. Suyash codes. How am I? I'm well today. I'm well. Happy Friday. Log path. Let's see. Trace. Log path is logs left and logs right. So we need to know which one this is. Longster. I'm just going to do this. Pass that through. There we go. The rest is pretty much boilerplate. Oh, because settings isn't available here. Interesting. Huh. Hadn't thought of that. Oh, why don't we just write a string to file? Let's just treat this as a string. Oh, it was not happy for you. Oh no, he got laid off. Oh, that sucks, man. That sucks. I hear there's a bunch of that going around. And being a fresher with only 6 months of experience and some open source contributions, you don't know how to proceed. Yeah, I saw that the market's kind of tight at the moment. Well, I would say lean on your network a bit, right? The people that you worked with, people that hopefully liked working with you, they may have been in the industry a little bit longer and could possibly help find a place with their network and so forth, right? Hence, network effect. Um, yeah, yeah, it's always who you know. Yeah, and having 6 months of experience is a leg up, right? Because you just got time with a bunch of people that have a network and helped you build your network. So let's say, link up with as many people as you can on some social network site. As a startup, startups are always hard. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea, Daniel. Cool project idea for your resume. Look for build your own X on GitHub. Now, I would also say that, um, you know, do the usual, right? File for unemployment. That's money that you paid into the system. All that stuff, right? And I wish I could format with this here. DSA is the only thing people see. Hmm, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You could always go like I don't know if you've gone this route before. I've done stuff like this in the past where I did kind of temp contract work. That actually helps build the network too, right? You can also reach out to the place that you had been working with and say, hey, is there any chance I could pick up some, you know, contract time, stuff like that, contract work? Especially if you're left on good terms, you know the system, they don't have to train someone, which is expensive. All right. Let's do this. It sucks that, yeah, that this happened. Keep your chin up, though, you know? You got about 5 months in your first job. Daniel, yeah. Then kept hounding web agencies with some blogs that got you in your second job. Huh, showing that you can teach others, which is always good. Senior skill, yes. That's true. And persistence. Luck and persistence often go hand in hand. Yep. Being in the right place at the right time, that involves like being active and keeping your eyes open, right? That and not being afraid to ask people questions like, hey, are you hiring? Right? Do you know someone that's hiring? Think you could help me? So you'd be surprised. You get a good conversation going. You never know. You never know. Might lead to an interview, right? Logster, logs path here. I do this. Oh, but then all of these have to be strings. No. Okay. There we go. Yep. Being willing to talk to people. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I've had three startups. Three startups. Last one is still going. I'm not a part of it anymore, but it's still going. And I spent 5.5 years with it. But that helped me get a job at a big tech company. It really did. And part of that was just the grind of having a startup. It is, man, had, I went 3 years, no break, just grinding, right? It's in my early 20s. So I had energy, right? And that was, that worked out really well. Opened a bunch of doors. But part of that was, yeah, the process of doing a startup, recognizing what you're not good at and getting better at it, even when it sucks. Um, I was total introvert, absolute introvert. And I recognized that in order to sell software that I was making, I would need to talk to people. So I practiced talking to people. I would go into, I talked about this yesterday, didn't I? I'd go into Barnes and Noble, a bookstore, and I'd sit in the computer section because that's what I knew. And I would just strike up conversations with people, read the room, see when they're like at a good point after they like look at a book or something, and then say like, "Is that a good book?" Or if you're familiar with the book, you could comment on how you enjoyed it or not. But practiced talking to people. That was tough. Oh, wearing many hats, yes. One moment you're DBA, the next moment you're a sysadmin doing disaster recovery. I think this will work. Rotation 5 dBs. Okay. Now we want to use this. Right, test config. Now we need to know our path. Oh, tester path. And our logster, we need two of them. We need a logs left and a logs right. It's even like streaming, right? What I'm doing here, occasionally I'll have people like ping me about opportunities, and nothing's really come of it, but it still happens. Okay, now I can get rid of these two files. Oh, that'd be so nice. Let's do that real quick. Yeah. Okay, here. There we go. That's better. Now, data plane. Oh, goodness. I want to get rid of that. What is in it? Bat, gauntlet, arena, data plane. Yeah, lots of information. All we care about is reading this. So we need some process that will just sit there reading. Mutation.fifo. The rest of this, we don't actually have to use the real data plane. We just need to be able to get the data and ensure it's correct. And connect. Thank you for the follow. So let's get rid of this. We will no longer have data plane, but we still need a FIFO file. Remove that. Okay. So prepare test directory. We remove everything, create a directory, the test directory, create a DB's directory where we will put our databases. I'm missing something here. This test DB dir, these should be called something different. Yeah, we used to have VFS left.toml and VFS right.toml, and here it's just reverb.toml. Ew, that's not right. Okay. Well, let's change that. Base path. What to call it? Blah. Let's see. Left or right? Logs slash that, and then we would have and then here just then we get F3. Left, right, top, bottom. This needs a format. All right. Oh, what's the difference between tester and arenator. Oh. Hmm. Why do we need an arenator? I want to look for what's in Gauntlet. So we have arena, blah, tester, calls arenator, and pushes the test name in it, which is why we have arena and then the test name. Okay. So why do we have this? Doesn't seem to be used. All right, so we prepare our test directory. Good. We spawn a couple of the children. We spawn data plane, which is not correct. Basically, what we want here is just some pipe that we can read data from. So maybe we spawn a thread or something to read from the FIFO and toss it into a channel. I kind of like that idea. Let's do that. Now, we have some of that code already here. We create the FIFO. Let's rename that to spawn FIFO listener. Now, what did we call the FIFO in the configs? Where'd that go? Really? Gauntlet, lib. Am I in the wrong directory? Yes, I am. This doesn't need to be in here. Except init child, no. Spawn child. Huh. Yeah, it shouldn't be in here. That's being used from Gauntlet. That's the only place it's used? Yeah. Let's just yank that out of there. So in this case, it's going to be a little different. Spawn FIFO listener. Need some information for that. Something there. Okay. Now, in here, we need to set up the test directory, all that stuff, right? Here we go. The FIFO is called mutation.FIFO. We don't have inner process there. Got it. Tester path. Probably needs something that can shut the thread down. Okay. Now we could use like an atomic bool or something. Right, FIFO. Here we go. All right. So spawn FIFO listener. We'll need a FIFO path back. Let FIFO path equals create FIFO. Give that the tester. Then we have our FIFO path. Do we need to clone it? No. All right. There's our file. Okay. Let's add inner process to gauntlet cargo. Create the FIFO, listen to the FIFO. Here we are reading from the FIFO. Now in this case, oh goodness, we want DB mutation data. So we want to get the expected message length each time. Okay. DB mutation, expected message length. There we go. So we attempt to read, right? And we want to fill up our buffer. And once it's full, we send it. Now, in this case, we were just throwing away the data, right? And as you can see, we pull every 100 milliseconds. I couldn't find a way to do this without futures. Does anybody know how to do that without futures? Basically, to have a read timeout. Say, read all of this or fail if like some sort of shutdown happens. So you could have another thread or just spawn up Tokyo. Not a bad idea, but um yeah, what would you even select on? Future join paths. I'm looking for something that I don't know exists. I don't think it exists. Yeah. It's basically I want to be able to shut this thread down. So we want to read, but only for so long. It's a FIFO. So we have a file. Rust. Turn FIFO into channel. IPC channel. We're actually using that elsewhere. We're not using channels like this. We're using a named pipe. Yeah. This is just standard FIFO behavior. Okay. Oh, what was that? What was that? Ah, FIFO pipes. Hmm. Okay. So, what else? What else could I do? Rate 5.0 test. Because I want to be able to shut down. I guess we just read into a buffer. And then we send so much occasionally. Is there like a try read? Only unlocking. Sync. No. Okay. 25 milliseconds. So a little message pump. All right. Let txrx equals standard np sync npsc channel. Now, here we have a vector, but we want to write what we've read. Offset is equal to 0. That'll be mutable. That gives us a result. Okay. So we read as far as we can. If offset reaches expected method, oh goodness, if offset is equal to, and we send it and reset it, send the message and reset offset. tx.send, we're going to send a little buffer. Type must be known. We want to convert it into, can we specify this? Oh, it's on the return type. Okay. Let's see, let buffer. I think it needs to be in, I think it actually needs to be a vector. Huh. I'm surprised that this works. Okay. If we have everything, then we sleep and try again. Why isn't this just that? Then there's no clone. Actually, just send it because it's copy. Gotta do something hacky with receive? I'm not sure. It's a named pipe. And so you're just trying to read from it. So let's look through this. We start with offset as 0, trying to fill the rest of the buffer. It's only a certain length. So we read, increase the amount read, increase by the amount read. If it's equal to the message length, we send the buffer. There's probably an off by 1 here that I'm not seeing. Check to see if we should shut down. Actually, we shut down when the sender goes away. Or when we can't send. But there's nothing to send. Oh, you're fighting back pressure with Node.js. Yeah. Huh. Go into the queue system. Tx dot. Is there a bool or something on MPSC? Sender that tells us whether or not the other end is dead? No. That's too bad. Um, Crossbeam with more features and better performance. It's fine. Tell me more. Hmm. Sender. Capacity, length, same channel. No. Send. Hmm. I would like to know if it's dead before. What else do they have? Data structures. Epoch. Okay. Hmm. Fascinating. Thread sync. Hey, look. Back off. Okay. So we read, we try to send. Data plane path, we need to get rid of that. No more data plane. But we do have this, which is nothing. We need to send back our receiver and oh, and the atomic bool for shutting down. Arc, atomic bool, and this is a receiver. Is that the right kind of receiver? Yes. Both of those, let's see, both of those will need to be on self. Data receiver and FIFO shutdown. Self dot FIFO shutdown dot. Isn't there a store? What? Oh, there it is. All right. Yep. I know that's not used yet. We'll use that later once the VFSs start to produce data. Okay, this might work. Cargo gauntlet tests. Oh, did I check to see if everything built? Could not parse config file. Missing field, standard out level. Really? Hmm. Let's remove that. And this. And this. And run it again. Okay. Good. Standard error level. Yes, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's standard out level. Lovely. We've made it further. Okay. Both failed. Let's just do one. Unknown error at exit. Attempting to create a non-wall database. Oh, my heart is melting. Okay. That's the test I want to do, but not the test I'm trying to do. It appears as though I forgot to initialize wall for this. Ah, I have to run. Thank you for hanging out today. We're going to raid Museum. Y'all take care.